Good morning. Greg J here. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. What a great day we got for you. How you feeling today? Everything good? Everything's good on my end. Just still trying to, push it one day, one foot in front of the other. Pushing hard. A lot of things going on around us. We're still in a pandemic world. It looks 1 minute it's looking like we're going to come out of it. Next minute, they're giving us more precautions. Confusion at the government levels. We just don't know what's going to go on. But I think just remaining positive and keeping prayerful and, keeping your head to the light, it's going to be all right. Never give up. Never surrender. Let's get it. What a great show we got today. We're going to talk about coffee. That's one of my favorite subjects, right? Coffee. We're talking about Cameroon. We're going to talk about global business perspectives. And I'm going to tell you why that's important, right? So in the shadow of all of the cries for social justice that we're having in this present generation, we look at, what are our opportunities? What can we do to build a stronger community? And business ownership is one of those things, business opportunities. There's a lot going on out there in this world in terms of business for us as a community. And for me, I'm just a strong advocate of building bridges of music, arts, and culture between Africa and African America, or Africa and America. I mean, let's just face it, the continent of Africa overflowing with, natural resources. We don't really need to lean on others to help uplift our community when we can, trade amongst each other. We have a whole continent of brothers and sisters who we should be linking up with and, gaining, creating business opportunities, relationships, arts, culture, business, trade. A couple of weeks ago, we had Ambassador Dr. Arikana Chihumbori Kwao on, and she was talking about the trade expo that she's leading to Ghana. I'm going to try to go to that, Lord willing. But it's all about doing this trade, creating this trade. So that's what I'm doing, in the space of coffee, and the coffee industry is a whole monster in and of itself. And I was looking at a video the other day on YouTube that was talking about the history of coffee, right? In a nutshell, one of the stories is a goat herder, Kaldi in Ethiopia. One of his goats ate a berry on a tree, and he noticed that the goat all of a sudden got really excited. And when he went over to see what the goat had eaten, he ate some too, and he got a little rush of energy right there, and took the seed of that fruit, to his fire and cooked it, put some water to it, and there you have it. Coffee is born. But in that video piece that I saw, it showed a map of the world, of the globe, right? And it showed where coffee is grown, which generally is across the equator. I'll have to put that map up on before this broadcast is over so you guys can see it. But what I did notice, because I froze the video, because I'm like, well, where's Cameroon, in there? And so it just illustrated to me, and super producer Rhonda Love, that, when we begin to talk about premium coffee, there we have it. The general market might marginalize us, a little bit. So we're all on the case. We know that this coffee that we have from Cameroon is at the right altitudes, the right soil, the right conditions to be premium and among best in the world. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. How does the coffee come from Cameroon into the United States? And, just what it's like to be Black folk in the coffee world. All right, my good friend Matty Funch is here. Good morning, Matty. What's going on, sir?
Hey, good morning, Greg. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing all right. Just out
Yeah.
here, making things happen.
I was laughing when you told the story about the goat and Cowley. Well, yeah, nice, very, very nice story. And I guess one that can make people say, oh, I do know something about coffee now, but really, I think if you believe that, then you would also believe that sometimes pigs can fly.
Right?
Look, I think we knew how to drink coffee and eat the leaves and smoke some of it or whatever way before some shepherd in East Ethiopia, discovered that his goats got excited eating coffee berries. I think, but that makes a very nice story, and everybody believes it. And that's how come you see it on YouTube.
That's something. But you know what? Isn't that always the case? Is that they'll tell a origin story, in our history, and we're like, well, no, we was already doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's really, really something. Maddie, I'm really getting steeped in the whole coffee industry and learning quite a bit. There's so many different types of coffee, so many different ways to prepare coffee drinks. I'm even looking at I went to a coffee conference not too long ago, and I learned how to make a coffee martini. And I was like, wow, this is pretty interesting, just so many ways. Now, in your experience, did you ever think or imagine that the coffee industry would be as diverse and large as it is now?
No, absolutely not. Not when I got started anyway. And even now, I'm just waking up to realizing that just as diverse as we are on this planet, so can we create different ways of consuming coffee, because it's a wonderful crop of nature. And if we just choose to relate to it on our own terms, then we begin to get on the road to being creative. So if you like, coffee goes so well with so many things. And back home, a lot of our African foods, we eat, we drink water, we drink sometimes local wines. But I start to pair coffee with some of the foods that I'm eating. And sometimes the warm coffee goes very well. Sometimes it goes, you take it like a cold beverage. So it's almost endless, almost limitless what you can do with coffee. It's amazing.
It really is amazing. Yeah. And wow. All right. So now when we talk about the Cameroon Boyo coffee, our coffee that we're moving through our communities, introducing people to, it's truly a premium coffee. There's without question. I mean, even when we do our art exhibits and our events here, in Long Beach and Los Angeles and around, and we present the coffee, we always have a little crystal bowl, tiny little bowl, and we pour the beans or the grounds in it, and it just fills up the whole room with the aroma, right? And that's really what gets people to say, oh, I want to buy it, and you can tell, okay, looking at it and smelling it, you say, okay, this is the premium stuff. Why isn't Cameroon's coffee crop like mentioned in the same breath as other regions. It seems like we're underserved. We're kind of the stepchild of the coffee industry, even though we are premium.
Well, true. That's why I got involved. I'm telling our story, but there's a whole lot more to that. But we're also seeing some of the remnants of the colonial process, which developed coffee in places like Cameroon, and how fate took our coffee into the direction of just a commodity product that most of the time the big companies use it to improve the quality of other coffees, and never really had a chance to stand on its own. But also in Cameroon, we probably did not make the effort to modernize. Coffee was not as important as maybe petroleum at a certain point in time, or maybe some other minerals to bring revenues to the country. And when the government, it's a long history, when the government also decided to liberalize the the agricultural sector, the support to maintain quality was not there. So, if you don't have top quality, no matter how good your coffee is, it won't make it out to be among the best in the world, as perceived by the so-called specialty coffee industry. So we decided that we have a good product, and we're going to work as like professionals, and we're going to bring an excellent product and put it in front of every other coffee, and it will stand on its own, and it really does stand on its own, and it shines way beyond most other coffees around the world. Yeah.
It's really interesting because people don't know there's a whole, chart and, standards that the coffee is graded on and everything, Are you going to the Specialty Coffee Association gathering that's coming up soon?
Actually started already. There were events today. Yesterday, today in New Orleans. I will be going for the day on Saturday. I would have been there for a couple of days, but we have coffee that just arrived from Cameroon. It's in the port of Charleston, and we're dealing with those issues around Corona, shortage of trucks. So we're trying to get our coffee over to Atlanta. I thought the coffee will be moving today, but it's not, and hopefully it will move tomorrow, so we can unpack it and then send it to our different warehouses around the country. And Saturday I'm going to New Orleans for the event.
Got a lot of work to do. It's right here in Long Beach, California, where we originate. And, we have a port, and the news is how the ships are backed up. Like if you go down, just a couple of blocks away from our studio here, if you go out there and you look out into the water, you will see the ships are backed up, and that's in the news now, how the trucks are, it's just taking a long time to get goods off of the ships and into the distribution systems. And it's becoming a really big issue in the port of Long Beach and the port of Los Angeles. I can imagine out there in Charleston and wherever there's major ports, this stuff is really, really happening. But, I'm reminded as you discuss this, can we just really kind of brushstroke the journey of the coffee? I was talking to one of my retailers, and she was, when I explained to her how the coffee got here, she was like, wow, I'm actually going to make a little book because we need to, be able to educate the people on the journey of the coffee. But for sake of this conversation, can you share with the people how the coffee gets to our cups?
Okay. Well, let's take a mature tree, mature coffee tree. So I guess we can start from that point. The trees make their flowers. I'll keep it short. Trees make their flowers. The bees do their thing. The flowers make fruit. After 9 months of work at the farm, the fruit ripens. So that's where more of the work goes into maintaining quality of the coffee. Farmers now have to go in. The fruit, they're like little cherries, the same size as a cherry. The farmers pluck them one by one, just fully ripe ones. And then when they've gotten a basket or a big bag that evening, they have to remove the fruit pad and get to the seed. The seed is what we consume, so we're getting after that seed. To get the seed ready to be sent out, it has to be washed, dried. And then there's a very, very thick skin that has to be removed in a dry mill. So all of those processes happen. It takes about 2-3 months for all of that to happen. And then we take it through a sorting process where individuals go through the beans one by one, look for the ones that are damaged, the ones that might have been eaten up by some bugs, and remove them because they'll affect the taste of your coffee. If you have like the commercial grade coffee, which are not properly cleaned, they don't taste as good as the specialty coffee, which is the kind of coffee that we're talking about earlier on. So you remove the defective beans, and you're left with just top quality beans. And we pass them through a screening machine, which separates them by size, so that the roaster or the chef who will be handling the coffee afterwards can give the best treatments to the coffee and make sure that it comes out the way that they want. So at that point, we put them in bags, and then send them to the port for export. From Cameroon, we put them in sea containers, about 19 tons in one full container, and ship it across the ocean. Normally, it takes about 41 days. But this last shipment took us about 3 months, maybe a little bit more. Again, thanks to disruptions caused by Corona. The shipping lines would tell us it's going to be loaded in one ship. And then a week later, we found out that they dropped our container, probably because they wanted to carry empty containers from Cameroon to Europe to take care of the backlogs of goods that needed to be exported, and they had no containers to put them. So there's that kind of disruption going, and that caused delays in our shipment moving across from Cameroon to the US. So from Cameroon, it stopped in 2 other ports, in Ivory Coast and then in Belgium. And in each port, it had the same kind of delay. Transshipment, which should take about 4 days, sometimes 2.5, 3 weeks. But we got it here in Charleston, and still in Charleston, we're trying to get it out. And we're still stuck with the issues of, can we get a truck? If we get a truck, apparently the shipping company, they haven't released it yet because internally they had a problem with communications. The office in Cameroon did not tell the office in the US that we paid for our container. So we're still trying to get the bill of lading released so that we can ship out the coffee tomorrow. So, and when it gets here, then we have to get into warehouses and then to the coffee roaster who does their things and then packages them before they're distributed to consumers. So,
wow. That's right. That's right. You know, now you have organized a collective of farmers up there in the mountains. So these are small farmers. This isn't like a big coffee plantation, but 19 tons of coffee, that's a lot, you know. How many farmers are we talking? And like, generally speaking, can you give us an idea of what size their lots are, their farms?
Yeah, if you were to give a very, very rough average, then I'll say that each farmer is producing about 200 pounds of coffee. The 19 tons, that translates to about 40,000 pounds, maybe a little bit more. So it takes a lot of farmers and a lot of work. There's some bigger farmers that contribute coffee more than the 200 pounds. And again, when when you start to talk about numbers like that, the issue comes to something you alluded to at the beginning. You started talking about social justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I start talking about the numbers that are involved, I have to keep thinking about, well, what is the effect of modern trade? Why do we have so many people who are left behind when it comes to trading of things like coffee, cacao, other things that we call commodities? And so that whole issue of social justice comes in. But we're linking our form of capitalism with social justice, and we know that they're not mutually exclusive. In fact, they should go together, and we marry them together very, very well by giving the farmers that dignity to say, you're a professional, therefore produce top quality. And then we come to our roasters, and they're equally the same professionals, say, let's collaborate. And that dignity that we bring into the whole supply chain makes a very, very big difference, not only in terms of the quality of our coffee, but into why we have to pay a certain price for that coffee. And so, coming back now to the numbers, because I want to make sure that when we're talking the numbers, we see the kind of impact that could take place if we do the right thing. You need about, right now we have about 600 farmers. We should, in theory, with our project, have been about maybe 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, because it's at the point where the farmers have seen that what we're doing is the best option for them. So it's a question of opening up markets, and then we'll be able to supply into those markets. And right now the markets, they're opening up a lot. The more that we have this kind of information session where people find out about the coffee and why we're doing it, the more that the demand is there. And so we have 600 farmers registered in the program, but we touch coffee from probably about 2,000 or 3,000 farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to the coffee conference a month ago, you know, and I talked to, you know, the different, I mean, first of all, the coffee industry there's a lot, okay, a lot of stuff, right? A lot of people, a lot of different things. And so when I talked about the coffee from Cameroon, almost 100% people were like, Cameroon, wow,
yep.
What? You know, and these are coffee professionals, you know, they didn't know that a premium coffee would come from Cameroon. You know, what can we do to, at least inside of the industry, what is the best way to, I guess, increase awareness about this beautiful coffee from Cameroon, West Africa?
Well, pretty much what we're doing right now, because it is increasing. 5 years ago, maybe even 2-3 years ago, 5 years ago, we could not, it was very difficult to have this kind of conversation and reach so many people. But more importantly, the more people get to know about coffee, and the more people get to sample and taste good quality coffee, then the more difficult it is for them to consume the low end of the coffee. And so to get our coffee be known, we got to make sure that we remain like producers of good quality and good tasting coffee. And then one customer at a time, let them say, not turn away from our coffee, but encourage them to talk about our coffee. And you know, there's no mystery to it. If you don't have big bucks and we don't have big partners, then it will just take some time, but it will eventually come. And doing the right things too means that eventually we can go to the big brands and we tell them that, look, what you're doing is not really living up to what morally, if we have to look at a 21st century form of human morality, it's not right to keep people working almost in an enslaved form, just to make a few people very, very rich at the other end of the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're doing away with that. And that reputation just eventually will reach a point where it grows exponentially. We're not reserving it exclusively to Cameroon because it's a flower empowerment project that we've taken on. And once we've shown the way, other farmers are going to see that that's the best way to go, and they're going to self-organize. We're self-organizing. It's not like I was some fancy, very rich philanthropist who came out to set up things. No, I did the hard work for over 20 years, and we're just building up one farmer at a time. We started off with 9 of us. When I've called the farmers, I got about 9 farmers together, and then those 9 farmers saw that it was a good thing that we're doing. We worked and we kept working on quality, and things are going. Yeah, so I think that what you're doing is very, very important, and I really appreciate this platform.
Maddie, I say one thing that I notice about people involved in the coffee industry is, they seem to be socially conscious. So there's all this talk about, fair trade. There's all this talk about climate. And I don't know if I have them around here. I thought I had them. I don't have them handy, but I got even these coasters, right, that you put your coffee cup on. But they said after you finish using the coaster, you put the coaster in the soil and it'll grow into a beautiful plant. There's all of these, very social conscious, knickknacks that people involved in the coffee industry have. And so one guy that I was talking to, he was the president of a company that makes roasters, Sono Fresh, and he was the CEO. And his whole claim to fame was that he had like 5 different varieties of beans. And his whole thing was, if you buy this coffee, it helps women in these countries, right? And it was this whole thing. And that seemed to be a really strong selling point for people attending the coffee conference. What is the most socially conscious aspect of our coffee here? Is it fair trade? And then explain fair trade too. That's another question.
Well, I think the most, for me personally, the way I look at it, the most impactful outcome of what we've been doing is that sense of, we use the big word, empowerment. That sense of having been recognized and been accepted as a core professional at the farm level. Even though the numbers of farmers are very, very small, but the benefits that they see with getting rewarded more for what they've done because of the quality and being recognized as core professionals in this industry, as opposed to just farmers, which has sometimes even like not so much a negative connotation, but we don't look at them like you look at doctors, for instance. Yet they're just as important for us to be able to live our lives. So for me, make sure that the farmers truly feel that sense of being recognized as important to the value and the quality of what's going to the market. Now, coming back to the market, how do you get that awareness on the market end? Because if the farmers are happy, then the product becomes quite sustainable. If they just feel that they're working because of absolute necessity, and they're just like boxed in there because they've been classified and that's the only thing that they could do, then their whole human experience become a miserable one, and that reflects into the kind of quality that we're getting. So at this end, what we've been doing, especially with our Western way of thinking, we come back and we think about colonization. We think about the slave trade. Then we're trying to do all kinds of things to say, well, we're doing better now. And so when you get certifications that are meaningful and make sense, then they have to be open and transparent. certification agencies like the Fair Trade, they do a good job of making the consumer be aware that there are people living in poverty and you have to pay more for their product. But are you just going to pay more because of some kind of a benchmark price of coffee? Or are you paying more because you recognize the hard work and you also accept that the intellectual property of that farmer is embedded inside the coffee that you're getting? You're not just doing some feel good. Okay, they should not be living in poverty. They're living in poverty because of our system and because of the way that we're trading with them. The moment that they accept it as core professionals, then they gain as much as anybody else in the industry, and they could take care of themselves. So the fair trade thing and our own experience with fair trade has been pretty, not good. When I asked to be certified as what we're doing as a system of fair trade, which should have its own classification where the farmers actually own their coffee. They're actually taking it to markets. They're actually getting what they want to get for it, because that's how they chose to determine their own future. Guess what? The certification agency says, well, we don't have a class for that. You have to pay a fee to get certified. Then you have to show so many years of audited accounts from the bank. Again, those are like little hidden things that take away from what was the purpose of wanting to do the certification in the first place. Then what about the transparency aspect? I say, well, look, it's our product. We're very open. We'll tell you what we're earning for our product. We have nothing to hide, and we want to make gains, but we want everybody else who takes our coffee to be able to make gains too. So, why do we the farmers have to pay to get certified that there's some kind of justice and fairness in the way that we trying to sell our coffee? We're not trying to cheat the consumers. We bring our coffee at a fair price. We're just trying to get more for our coffee, and we've determined a route to getting more for our coffee without having to go through some kind of a system where you pay. And so anyway, they're good, but the shortcut feel good processes which enable the big companies to say we're doing the right thing. But then when you look back after so many years, there's been very, very little change in the way that those same people who are supposed to be the beneficiary of the fair trade, how they are living and how their lives are. We still have poor farmers, and there's still millions of them around the world, and they're still trying to get out of poverty. So it's working. It's working for some, but it's working up to a certain level, and it's probably making some at a certain level become quite economically powerful and well. But I think it's also leaving behind millions, hundreds, because that verification and that transparency is not there 100%.
Let me ask you this. I'm going to try to share this. So when we begin to talk about premium coffee, I mean, folks are talking about what is the one? Blue Mountain, they're paying a lot of money for the bag of Blue Mountain, and they talk about coffee from Costa Rica. There's all these, locations, right? What makes a coffee premium as opposed to my regular Folgers?
Well, you can make your Folgers a premium too if you choose. There's not. I don't think there's some absolute standards that you could say would make something premium. When you get beyond the fundamentals of due diligence, when the farmers have taken good care to give you ripe beans as opposed to giving you coffee which is not ready. For the coffee to taste good, it has to be ripe. So if you take coffee that's not mature and it's not ripe, then it's not going to give you good coffee, and you cannot classify those as premium. So what makes premium starts from the farmers, how they harvest their coffee, how they handle it, how they process it, and then the next step is how it's handled during transportation. You have to get the moisture level down to a certain range so that the coffee still maintains the freshness, but doesn't begin to get all moldy in the bag because it has to travel for so long. It has to be roasted and consumed within a short period of time. Those are all like little things that go along to classify coffee as premium. So if we have coffee that has been set aside by the big companies like Maxwell House or Folgers or whatever that follow those steps, then they'll be able to tell you that, they'll be able to show you those steps, show you who produced the coffee, and then show you that, well, we roasted our coffee and it's in your cup 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks from when it was roasted, and not like 5 or 6 months, because it has to go through so many processes. They'll be able to point to what the farmers are and what they did, and they'll be able to put the coffee down on the table, and you can go cup after cup after cup and see that the quality is there and the uniformity is there, and there are no weird tasting foul beans stuck inside the middle of good beans. So those are some of the things that make a specialty. Now, for an industry like the coffee industry, same like with the wine industry, it's very big. So you have to make some kind of an industrial standard which everybody follows. So we kind of accept that, and we can put our coffee through that. But for me personally, quality comes along with visibility and traceability, and also understanding of what happened in each step of the process. So if we try to keep those elements coming along with our coffee, so that at any point in time we can answer those questions.
For sure. All right, so there's something called the Bean Belt, and I think I had this map of the world that I have up. This is giving us this one says the coffee regional flavor profiles, and let me just kind of make this larger. And so basically, coffee is grown between the Tropic of Cancer and the
Tropic Capricorn.
Capricorn, right? Okay, so generally speaking, along the equator, right? And so these are the countries here. I can't get too close on this picture, unfortunately. I don't know why, but okay. Again, so it has Ethiopia in Africa, it has Kenya, it has Uganda, has Rwanda, and I can't see which one this is. This looks like Yemen, but Cameroon's right up in here somewhere, right?
Okay. Look, I'll tell you where Cameroon is. If you look at the dot that takes you to Rwanda, right?
Yes.
And they put Rwanda right there and above Scandinavia, and then you're coming down their line, where their line turns from north south to east west or west east. That point, that's around where Cameroon comes up from the ocean, then going into the interior of Africa, kind of like a triangular shaped country east of Nigeria. So if people know Nigeria, because I think a lot of people know Nigeria, Cameroon borders Nigeria. Cameroon sits to the east of Nigeria.
So we're right in the game here. You see, let me just read what this says for you all, so that we can. I just really want to get into. I'm on another screen here. I'm just trying to read for you all what we're seeing. So it says here that Africa's flavor profiles are bright, acidic, fruity, and medium body. Is that a good thing?
Well, it's a good thing. Yeah, definitely. It's a good thing. But you can read Asia and you can read the Americas, and they're all, for me, they're all good things, because they're all different flavor profiles that different people enjoy in the cup.
All right. So Asia is earthy, chocolatey, sweet, heavy bodied, and the Americas are mild and balanced, nutty, spicy, mild acidity. All right. For me, I have yet, and I guess I'm not a professional coffee taster, although I love my coffee and I'm getting pretty good at making different coffee drinks. But I will say this, I can't taste the fruity or all of those, it's almost like when they taste these coffees, it's exactly like how the wine people do it, and it's got a hint of fruit, a hint of caramel, all that. I can't taste the stuff in my coffee. How do the professional coffee tasters get those flavors as described here?
Well, you know, well, they're professionals, and the same like imagine drinking your wine. With wine, it's a little bit easier because fruit and wine, you can kind of taste fruitiness in wine and so on. But but frankly, even me, I don't think my sense of smell and my sense of taste is as good as the people who I think should be judges to be able to come out with those terms and those descriptions. It's a gift which we don't all have, and we all have different degrees of sensitivity and also different abilities to translate from smell and taste to words. For instance, the fact that you're enjoying some coffees more than some other ones means you're doing that differentiation anyway. But it might not be easy for you to pick out something and then write it down. And it doesn't mean that your brain is not perceiving it. So they're the experts who can pick out those things. I don't know whether we have enough instruments today that can, like robots, that can go out and pick them out and then do the description. But they're all subjective things based on what those individuals taste. But I can tell you, our coffee can also be heavy-bodied. We can make it like that. With the roaster, we can do that, and different varieties of coffee, we can do that. So those general characteristics, the Americas, they use maybe Colombia because Colombia is one of the biggest producers of Arabica coffee, and they tend to be mild. Yeah, it's true. When you take Colombian coffee and you put it side by side with Cameroon coffee, then you get that brightness out of our coffee, and that brightness comes more like the tanginess, more like the citrusness of our coffee, and the Colombians just tend to be really, they call them miles, and they are. But we're getting to the point now where we're taking so many different varietals of coffee and growing them in so many different parts of the world. You have coffees like from the village of Geshen, Ethiopia, that everybody makes so much talk about now. It was made famous in Panama when, I guess, during some competition, that Geshen coffee scored very, very high, and people began to pay like $100 or $200 for a pound of coffee. And it comes from Ethiopia, but it's grown in Costa Rica, it's grown in Panama, it's grown in Honduras. I have some growing in the back of our farm in Cameroon. So
that's right.
Yeah, So I bet you, Greg, one day you'll take your coffee, and then you're going to say, "Oh gosh, yeah, I just see the chocolate. It does have that cocoa."
Yes.
And maybe when we meet another time, you brew the coffee without any, of course, as usual, you don't have to mix like sugar and milk in it. And you take a cocoa bean, and maybe you rub it in your hand and smell it, then sip your coffee. You're going to pick it up in our coffee. So okay. Our senses play with us too. Yeah. And so, some people are good at slurping that coffee vaporizing and then smelling those different aromas. Then they can describe it. I'm not good at that.
Yeah.
But I know our coffee, and when I've roasted our coffee in small quantities hundreds of times, and every day I drink it in Cameroon. My mom, she will never be able to just give you a description about how the coffee, what are the coffee flavors, but dare give her anything but our coffee, she'll tell you that it's not our coffee.
Oh, wow. That's right. Good stuff. Good.
Yeah.
All right. This has really been fascinating, and we'll have to make this a regular conversation because, learning so much and just fascinating to hear, the journey of coffee, the science of specialty coffees. It's a big deal. And, but I'd like to ask you, how, there's so many questions. How's the climate in Cameroon? Last you were with us, we were talking about, the actual journey out of the mountains down to Douala, the port, and it's a lot of, a lot of stuff happening, the coffee encounters on the way to the ship, are things a lot better, or how's is the journey still an adventure that's worthy of a movie?
well, I mean, yeah, it is. And also on a serious, very, very serious note, at the farm level, unfortunately, we still have serious armed conflict going on, a socio-political crisis that farmers did not cause. So political problems that could be solved by dialogue or by the government just understanding its population and saying, look, okay, you have this problem, let's fix it. Unfortunately, the way the government handled the complaints from the English-speaking part of Cameroon was very very poor, and it led now to the kind of armed conflicts that we have in the country. So most of the parts of Cameroon where we get our coffee from, there's no government administration, there's no government control. The young men and women who are now demanding that the English-speaking part of Cameroon separates from the bigger Cameroon and become the nation that it was before the two parts came together at the time of independence, so-called independence. In most of those rural areas, they're the ones that are controlling. So we have to move our coffee. And how do you move your coffee if they don't give you the security window to move your coffee? So we have to navigate those issues, navigate the security that happens when conflicts happen. One of our centers, one of our farmers' meeting area for where they gather to do the initial processing of their coffee. One of the very first one we built it very near a main road, but because it's near a main road, it comes under gunfires all the time, so we can't use it. And so we have to make farmers work again in very, very small groups or individually away from the main arteries in the remote villages. Then we have to find ways to move those coffee. And then without damaging them on top of that. So, yeah, that's a serious part. So getting it just from the farms to the point where it's now ready to even travel to the ocean, it's worth movie making, but I don't know which. Even Indiana Jones, I wouldn't advise him to come out to that area today to go out and make a movie. Because we have a serious problem there, and there's no real security, even for the farmers. Yeah, they can talk with the people who are engaged in this conflict, but if fighting erupts, they don't have bunkers to hide in, and bullets don't care who's in the way when they're flying. So
that's right.
yeah.
Wow.
So.
That's really something. I mean, I would like to document that journey. I know it's dangerous, but I do. I see the vision to be able to document that because you know what, you want the world to know what's going on there, and that could. I'm thinking it could help. You know.
Well, Greg, I don't want to be doing this because I'm not here to be selling books and so on. But we did do some documentation. This magazine called Sources Magazine, and you can go online sourcesmag.com. It's a very well produced magazine.
Okay.
Yeah, hold on, let's see. And there I talk a little bit about and the pictures are really excellent, top quality. Okay. It shows how farmers are living and how they have to. I'm glad that one ended up with peace, but how we have to navigate some of this conflict to get our coffee out. And there's a good section which is an interview section at the back of the book where we actually talk about how we empower farmers through our process. And then at the beginning of the book, there's a section that talks about the history of Cameroon and how we evolved the legacy of colonization that brought us to the point where we're having the conflicts today. So if you can let your readers or your listeners know, they can buy a copy of that book. And the proceeds are all going back to helping the farmers who have been displaced, and there's no profit being made out of it. So it's a good thing.
Here, I've got the website up. I'm going to bring it onto our screen right now so we can just kind of see it real quick. At least get a taste of what you're talking about here. And here it is right here. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is interesting stuff right here. I mean, people need to know that. I think especially, Americans need to know, but I'm just going to go ahead and say, African Americans need to know. So this picture here, now where is this? This is, what are they? Doing? Are they milling the coffee?
Yeah, well, this one. Well, which of the pictures you show?
So on the left side, can you see the women?
Yeah. Like okay. Yeah, that is in the mill after the coffee has been after the skins have been removed from the coffee and the coffee beans are now ready for export. You can imagine those women go through the bean after bean after bean, to remove the defective ones and to keep the good ones. Machines can do as good a job as the human eye in that respect. So for me, the kind of work that those women are doing is so important to the quality of the coffee, and they deserve to be paid well. So in our process, they're very well taken care of, and we do document things like that. So. Yeah.
Wow. Look at there's their phones getting charged.
Yeah.
This is good stuff. Now, what are those on the right hand side here? That's are those? They look like corn.
That's corn. That's the corn farm. That's the farmer. The farm's getting the. I'm sorry, my phone was ringing. Let me.
Okay.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, I don't know. Could you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's the farmer standing in front of his corn. He's hoping that he'll be able to harvest it because fighting was going on around that time. And so at the time the young man was sent to Cameroon took those pictures, he wasn't sure that he was going to be able to harvest it. And even if he did, the local market was not there. Everybody had gone out of the had gone out of the village, out of the town. Yeah. But then life also goes on some other parts. See the young people playing soccer.
It's a beautiful country,
man.
Right,
thanks. Yeah.
I gotta make it. I gotta go. Okay.
But look that one on the left. That young man. That's Ernest. Is one of our main helpers in the farm in our project. He's in the backyard of their farm, and you can see how much the weeds have taken over the farm because there was nobody there to work it. So yeah.
I'm looking at these pictures and I'm just touched to my heart because I did my DNA and I am like 80% from Cameroon.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I'm just looking at these faces and these are my people.
Well, peace will eventually find some peace and freedom. Then I think you'll be able to come out and feel at home back home.
Wow. Good stuff here, Red. Good stuff here. I'm enjoying my Kalimbasong Cameroon Boyo coffee right here. And, it's just, chopping it up with Maddie Fancha about coffee and how it gets here from Cameroon. Look, you wish you were me. I hope you guys are really enjoying this conversation. I know that I am. We get that sourcesmag.com. You know what? I need a few copies. I know exactly where to sell those books. Our coffee we have in one of our retailers is the Village Treasures store. She sells African art inside of she's a landmark here in Southern California, but right around the corner here in Long Beach. And we need to put some Sources Mags inside there alongside the coffee. This is what we have to do to get this information out to the people. Beautiful pictures, beautiful depictions of what's going on in Cameroon.
Yeah, I'm going to get some copies of it to you.
Okay, yeah. Excellent. All right, Maddie. Before we get out of here, I want to hear your, generally speaking, right? When in African Americans, as we now just, I guess the word is reconsider our place in America, right? Or we're reawakened, actually, And, there's a level of consciousness that's really alive and kicking now, especially after, it was already bubbling, but now after the murder of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, on and on and on, we're now reinventing our consciousness as African Americans. And I think a part of that reinvention really must involve exchange with our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa. And for me, it's business. That's why, we're doing our thing here. And there's a few other things that we hope to jump into soon. And can you share how important it is to create this business exchange between the African American community and our brothers and sisters on the continent of Africa?
Well, if you want to determine your own future, then you have to take it, and you have to make those steps yourself. You can't let some other people do it for you. Mm-hmm. So that consciousness already is a beginning point. It's not about talking about going to Egypt, even though that's very, very important. About saying how the pharaohs were all black people. Yeah, that's good. But today we live in the 21st century. The young African computer scientists, computer engineers, the young African doctors, and the young mechanics, entrepreneurs, welders over here, just using the medium like how we're using it today. It's as simple as that, joining Facebook groups, which make sense to you. Keeping away from old stereotypes, the stereotypes that we're meant to believe because of biased education systems, both in Africa and also over here, getting to know our true history and sharing them, and keeping away from conspiracy theories. And we don't have to be reactive about anything. We just have to be ourselves. We don't have to be apologetic about anything. We don't have to justify anything. We just have to be us and engage with the rest of the world in the 21st century. Our movie makers, why not take more and more African stories and African folklore and put them in the production and the way that they craft their movies over here. And so there's a lot of things that we can do. We don't have to wait for somebody to come out and say and inspire us. Just imagine something and start to do it. You'll find a connection with some other person in the continent that's ready to work with you. We have the tools right now, thanks to all of the Instagram and Facebook and that generation, which is like the millennials and so on. They shouldn't even begin to be asking questions like that because they're already connected. And if they choose to lock themselves inside the box that my generation, not only of us Africans, but of Europeans, decide to classify and put them in that box, then that's their problem. But I think the road is open. They need to step up and define themselves and show themselves to the rest of the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that so much. I'm excited. Boy, I'm gonna get off this call and watch out, y'all. I'm gonna take on this day. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, yeah. The thing is, if we are too interconnected in the world today, we can't say that African Americans should only be looking at Africa to reconnect. No, we have to engage the rest of the world, and then along partner with Africans too. If we have some common reason, I can tell you, if you bring put something on the table, and a young African puts some other thing on the table, the power of that combination is way more than each individual working by themselves. But if you have it and you don't do it, then well, why not a European from Scandinavia? Because those opportunities are there. We cannot keep them in exclusive boxes today, and it would be wrong to keep them in exclusive boxes. If we have skills, let's share, and share with our brothers first. If we don't recognize our brothers, then they'll go and look for somebody else. Both ways. Africans too have plenty that they can gain by partnering with African Americans over here. Yeah.
All right, y'all. Matty Fancha, he's here. Cameroon Boyo Coffee. Yes, y'all. That's my plug. To the Cameroonian nation. And getting this beautiful coffee that some of you are. Man, Matty, I got to tell you, the popularity is catching on. The news is catching on out here on the West Coast, with our, we call our coffee Kalimba song after the instrument Kalimba. And look, I know there's an instrument around here somewhere because somebody asked me, what is a Kalimba?
Yeah.
So let's see. I'm always music centered, so I have one here. Let's see. That's it, and so we just say, the beautiful music that comes out of this instrument here is relative to the coffee that we're bringing from Cameroon alongside Matty Fancha. I just love it. I love it. Any last words you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Well, I don't know. Last words are very, very difficult to come by in a nutshell, but I think the important thing is when you drink coffee, really ask yourself, where did this coffee come from? How did it get to me? And try to think about the people who did the hard work, and most of the hard work was done by the farmers. Not everything else was just like touching a very, very small percentage of effort. Most of the work was done by the people who put it in the ground and who maintained the trees and who gathered the coffee before it got to the market over here.
That's important stuff, y'all. Well, look, if you missed this live, it's okay. It'll be out there. Coffee Conversations with Greg J on the Facebook page, the Beach City Radio, Hannibal Media Group. It's over there on YouTube. Just look me up, Greg J, and you'll find it. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Of course, Columbus on Coffee Company has a Facebook page. This is on there. And then if you want to go over to Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com, it's there, ColumbusOnCoffeeCompany.com, and then the audio version will be repurposed and put out there wherever you get your favorite podcasts. That's Spreaker, iHeart, Google, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, just wherever, man. Just go Coffee Conversations with Greg J, and it'll be there for you to listen to this. Spread this one around. There's some very interesting nuggets that Maddie shared with us today. And I think that, for me, I do think we oftentimes take our morning cup of coffee for granted, like he just said, man, think about where that coffee came from. We saw some pictures of the women in the mill there picking through, the cherries to see the well, that's past the cherry stage when it's there, right? So when they're picking through it, we saw the farms, we saw everything, the pictures, and we're going to endeavor to find some more pictures and share with you so that you can see this coffee coming from Cameroon. It's got a journey, y'all, and so I just want y'all to be aware of it and plant that into your consciousness. All right.
Okay.
Love one another, y'all. Love one another. Love one another. Peace and blessings.
Peace to you.